Let's kick this off not with a big, complicated story, but with just two numbers. That's it. Two simple numbers that when you put them together, they paint a picture of something that just, well, it shouldn't have been possible. Here's the first one.
258. That is the confirmed number of enemy vehicles, we're talking tanks, armored cars, you name it, destroyed or captured by a single American M4 Sherman tank crew. Not a platoon, not a company, one crew, in one tank. It's a record that, to this day, has never been broken. And now for that second number.
83. That's how many days it took them. Just 83 days. I mean, think about that for a second. That's an average of over 3 enemy kills per day, every single day for nearly 3 months straight, while blasting their way across France. They got knocked out of the fight 3 different times, their tank completely destroyed right out from under them, and every single time they just found a new one, slapped the same name on the side, and got right back to it.
Okay, so this is the real heart of the matter, isn't it? How did they pull this off? Because this wasn't some lucky streak. And it definitely wasn't because they had the best equipment. Far from it. It was because they had a commander who saw the battlefield in a totally different way, and a crew that worked together so seamlessly it was like a single, 5-headed beast. This is the story of how the right team with the right mindset can make the tools they have more than enough.
You know, to really wrap your head around this, you first have to understand the man in the commander's hatch, Staff Sergeant Lafayette Pool. They called him War Daddy. And he wasn't born some kind of legend. He was forged by hard times, by discipline, and by a kind of quiet, controlled aggression that he turned into a deadly art form.
Just look at this background for a minute. It's like the perfect blueprint for the kind of warrior he'd become. A Texas farm boy, so he knew what hard work was. An engineering student, so he had this methodical, analytical brain. But then you get to the boxer, a Golden Gloves champion with a perfect 41-0 record. Now think about what that really means. It's not just about being tough. It's about controlled violence. It's knowing exactly when to attack, when to counter, and how to spot a weakness and exploit it in a split second. But maybe the most important detail on this whole slide? He actually turned down a promotion to become an officer. Why on earth would you do that? Simple. He knew an officer's job was usually behind the lines, directing traffic. His place, he felt, was right at the tip of the spear, with the 4 other men he trusted his life with. He chose his crew over his career. That tells you everything you need to know about the man.
Now, here's where the story gets really wild. Because on paper, this isn't a fair fight. Not even close. The German Panther was an absolute predator. Its gun could knock out a Sherman from a mile away long before the Sherman could even dream of firing back. And its frontal armor? Thick and sloped perfectly, meaning most American shells would just bounce right off. In fact, American tankers had a pretty grim nickname for their own M4 Sherman. They called it the Ronson, after the cigarette lighter company whose slogan was, "Lights up the first time, every time." So, put yourself in Pool's boots. You know you're outgunned, you know you're driving what everyone else considers a death trap. A long-range duel is basically suicide. So what's your move? You can't change the tank, so you have to change the way you fight.
And this was his answer. This wasn't some piece of advice. For him and his crew, it was their religion. Pool's entire philosophy was completely radical for the time. He decided to turn the Sherman's weaknesses into its greatest strengths. He'd use its better speed and reliability to charge, and I mean literally floor it, straight at the enemy. He'd close that mile-long gap down to just a few hundred yards in a matter of seconds. And at that range, suddenly, the Panthers' long-range advantage is gone. By getting right up on their flank, he exposed their much weaker side armor. He led from the commander's hatch, his head and shoulders totally exposed to enemy fire just so he could get a better view of the battlefield. It was a completely insane, high-stakes gamble, and he made it every single time they went into battle.
Of course, he couldn't do any of this alone. A philosophy is totally useless without people who can actually execute it. He called them the Pups. They called him War Daddy. And this group of guys was the real weapon. You had Wilbert Baby Richards on the driver's controls. So smooth, Poole said he could make that 33-ton tank dance. Willis Groundhog Aller was the gunner, the linchpin of the whole operation. The man was cool as ice, a surgeon with the main gun who rarely missed. And Delbert Jailbird Boggs, the loader, a guy whose speed kept that gun in the fight. They were like a symphony of controlled violence, drilled to absolute perfection. From the second Poole spotted a target to the moment Aller fired was often less than 3 seconds. They hadn't just mastered their tank, they had become an extension of it.
So, on June 29, 1944, this crew in their brand new Sherman, named In the Mood, rolled into combat. And for the next 83 days, they were like a force of nature, a whirlwind of aggression cutting a path through France.
but their unbelievable kill record came at an unbelievable price.
This right here, this timeline, it just perfectly captures the brutal reality they were living. See, they didn't have one tank. They went through 3 of them, all with the same name. Just try to imagine the psychological toll of that. Their first in the mood gets taken out by a German rocket. They all survive, but their home, their weapon, is just a smoking ruin. They get a new one. Then weeks later, the second one is blown to pieces, not by the enemy, but by friendly fire from an American plane. And again, they all walk away. The life expectancy for a Sherman crew in that part of the war was measured in weeks. These guys survived 2 catastrophic kills and just kept going. What kind of trust, what kind of belief in each other does that take?
So how did this aggressive strategy actually work in a real fight? Let me just walk you through one quick encounter that says it all. It's the middle of the night. They round a corner and come nose to nose with the German Panther, just 30 yards away. This is the absolute nightmare scenario for any Sherman crew. The Panther naturally fires first, a deafening blast as the shell screams right past their turret. It fires again, another miss. You have to imagine there was pure chaos inside that German tank. But inside the Sherman, it was pure, drilled instinct. Poole shouts the order. All are aims. Boggs loads. One shot, a single armor-piercing round hits the Panther's weaker side armor. And just like that, the fight is over. They won not because of better technology, but because of better training and a faster tempo. They proved, right then and there, that the quality of the crew inside the tank matters a whole lot more than the quality of the steel they're wrapped in.
By the middle of September, their legend was pretty much cemented. The Army High Command knew they had something special on their hands, maybe too special to keep risking. So, the decision was made to pull them off the front line and send them home to help sell war bonds. All they had to do was survive one last mission.
The irony is just gut-wrenching, isn't it? For 82 straight days, their entire job description was to be the most aggressive, most fearless tank crew out there. Now, on day 83, their orders were the exact opposite. Don't lead the charge, just hang back on the flank, play it safe. They were just hours away from getting on a boat and heading home. But war, as they say, doesn't really care about your plans. And right here, fate twists the knife. Just a few days earlier, their master gunner, Willis Soller, the man who was like a surgeon with the cannon, had been rotated home. That seamless, perfect unit had been broken up for the very first time. His replacement was a 20-year-old private first class named Paul Kenneth King. As they pushed into a German town, a Panther tank, hidden in the rubble, ambushed them. And this time, it didn't miss. 2 shots, fired in rapid succession, ripped right through the Sherman's armor.
PFC King was killed instantly. It was his first and his last mission with the crew. The same blast threw Poole clean out of the commander's hatch, his right leg almost completely severed by shrapnel. As their third and final in the mood began to burn, the surviving crew members dragged their commander to safety. Their 83-day war was over.
Poole would survive, but his leg couldn't be saved. He spent the next 2 years in a hospital and would walk on a prosthetic for the rest of his life. But while his fighting days were over, the impact of what he and his crew did, well, that was just getting started.
Poole's tactics, using speed, aggression, and superior crew coordination to beat a technologically superior enemy, were studied at West Point. They literally became part of the official U.S. Army doctrine. He taught generations of future tankers that the human element is more important than the hardware. He was, of course, showered with medals, though his 2 nominations for the Medal of Honor were pretty controversially denied. And yeah, if this story sounds familiar, it's because his combat tour was the direct inspiration for Brad Pitt's character, also named War Daddy, in the movie Fury.
And when you boil it all down, this is the one truth that's left. This is the lesson that was written in blood and steel across the fields of Europe. Poole and his pups proved that technology is only ever a tool. The real weapon is a perfectly synchronized, highly trained, and deeply loyal team. They weren't just 5 guys in a tank, they were the weapon.
So that leaves us with a final, really important question for you. Think about your own world for a second, your job, your projects, your team. We get so obsessed with having the best software, the newest gadgets, the biggest budget. We're always looking for a better tank. But Poole's story kind of forces us to look in the mirror. How much time do we really spend forging the crew, building that trust, practicing the fundamentals until they're second nature? His legacy is a pretty stark reminder that in any high-stakes game, the most advanced, game-changing piece of technology you can possibly have is a team that trusts each other completely. So what are you building? A collection of better tools or a better team?